My mum always said that I was very good at spending money. And like everything she said, she was right. I must admit that pre-COVID-19, I was a bit of a shopaholic. There you go, my guilty secret. But who better to confess that to than Gavin Sharpe, UK qualified psychotherapist. Gavin, can you help me?
Yeah, no, Alicia, I don't think I can.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Here ends that conversation.
Now you know why my therapy sessions are very short. We're done in a few minutes.
That's not what I heard about you. But anyway, let's move swiftly on. I know actually,
last time. We did that one on sex, but okay.
Yes, we did. Yes. You see, I always want to bring it back to sex, but no, I do want to talk about money today because it is a real concern. You know, I mentioned that pre-pandemic, I was a bit of a shopaholic, but I have to again admit that now I don't want to shop because it's stressful. I'd have to queue outside the shops. I can't try anything on. I have to wear a mask. But most importantly, there is a real concern that we're heading for a recession and money is going to be tight. So really, I suppose the question is, how do you deal with the concerns over money?
It's a great question. And I'm really pleased that we got this chance to sit here and talk about what is sometimes such a taboo subject. It's like we're more comfortable talking about our sex lives than we are about our bank accounts. It's one of those discussions that, you know, in my family, we would talk about money and my grandfather would get up and he'd close the window because the neighbors might hear. You know, there's so much of a taboo around money and so much shame. So financial anxiety, which you're talking about, is really real. And so many clients are coming into the therapy room now talking about it. As you say, we're sitting about on the cusp of going into a recession. So the first thing, if someone was to present that question to me, the first thing I want to really understand is, what's your relationship with money? So what did you learn about money growing up? And as psychologists, one of the things that we tend to look a lot at is what we call money scripts. These unconscious thoughts and beliefs that we have growing up that guide our decisions. So the first thing I would say to you, if we were looking at, say, your shopping patterns, you know, pre-COVID, what did you learn about money? Did you learn that money was something that should be spent? Did it represent freedom? Did it represent security? And we've all got an unconscious belief about money. So the first thing I ask clients to do is, can you get in touch with what you believe about money? Because some of that will be guiding the anxiety. And therefore, having done that, then it's the practical stuff about sitting down and saying, okay, let me look at what's happening right now. What can I control? And I'll often say, don't look beyond the next 6 months. What's real at this moment in time? Because we all have a tendency to catastrophize. That how long is this going to last? When will I not be furloughed anymore? Maybe I've lost my job already. So I kind of tell clients that firstly, look at what's happening right now, because that's the stuff that probably you can control. And then I do the worst case scenario. Okay, so play this through with me, Alicia. What would happen if you lost your job? What would happen? Well, maybe we'd have less money. And then what would happen? Well, it would be more difficult to pay the rent or the mortgage. Then what would happen? And actually, when we work it through and we get to the end of the worst case scenario, it's often not as bad as we feared. So it's just coming at it from those two angles. It's the psychology, and then it's the practical side. And that's usually the approach. And it's giving people the permission to also say, this is a really anxious and stressful time. So long answer.
Can I ask you, Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. I heard something crash in the background there, so maybe maybe somebody was throwing their money around.
I haven't paid my rent, you see, so the landlord is banging on the door. You have to pay.
Can I ask you to share with us, what did you learn about money when you were growing up?
Well, a few things. I was the grandson of Russian immigrants, and like lots of people of that generation, they fled. In my case, they fled Russia, and they came to the UK with nothing. And so the money belief was that it's really important to have money because money is security, money is safety. And you know, Alicia, I'm not sure it was ever spoken, but it was certainly a sort of subtext that money and wealth is important to accumulate, not to show off, but to have safety. So I'll give you an example. When I was 16 or 17, sorry, Mum, sorry, Dad, I'm going to tell the story. But I went to my parents and said, oh, I want to be an actor. And my parents said, but that doesn't pay any money. Only a few people succeed. So we want you to get a real job first. And then if you want to become an actor, you can. But you need something that pays well. So you can just see how, with great intentions, but how that just feeds into this unconscious script about I must succeed, I must earn money, because if I don't, you know, ...
Yes, yes. I so relate to that. I have a similar background, and indeed for my mum, it was all about security. So, you know, and then she had a daughter who was very good at spending it, which I have to say, though, you know, it wasn't that she discouraged me, because she wanted me to be happy. She wanted me to have everything. So, but I did become a family lawyer, as you know. Mm-hmm. And of course, the disputes over money were very, very real in my family law practice. But of course, what you are saying, it actually isn't about money, it's what it represents.
Absolutely.
So you also talk about financial infidelity, and that comes into your therapy room. And I guess that ties in, though, with my family law and about money. So what is financial infidelity?
So financial infidelity is where there is a secret that is held over money. So for example, I have a secret bank account that my spouse doesn't know about. Or maybe I am keeping hidden from my spouse the amount of money that I spend. I don't show my spouse my credit card bills. And so sometimes in couples therapy, what comes out is not just the financial infidelity, but also what got set up in the first place. And very often you will find that there was one spouse who actually was quite avoidant about money, because what he or she learned growing up about money, money's dirty and money's vulgar, and so I don't really want to be involved. I leave the money to her, or I leave the money to him. And of course, that's the perfect formula to set up betrayal. And so financial infidelity comes into lots of relationships. And it's one of the things, money generally, and you must have seen this as a divorce lawyer, it's probably one of the biggest stressors in every relationship. And as you said before, it's very often about what it represents. So I worked with a couple who had inherited some money. And so for one part of the couple, for one person, that represented the kids' college fund. We've come into, let's say it's granny's inheritance. So this is great. We've now got the college fund for, okay, it was the wife that said this is the college fund. And meanwhile, the husband, his view was, this is my new Ferrari. This is fantastic. This is what Granny would have wanted. She would have wanted me to whiz around in an extortionate flash car. And the argument that came from this, because two different philosophies of money had collided.
Yeah, Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, it was money, children, infidelity, and yes, now I can see as well. Yes, financial infidelity too. So financial disorders, what are they?
So financial disorders speaks to a behavior, a self-destructive behavior around money, which is causing negative consequences in my life. So the most obvious one is gambling, is a compulsive disorder. And at some point, the combination of the negative consequences and the compulsivity, that's when we define it as addiction. And you've got things like overspending. For some people who learned money was bad, it's about underspending. It's about self-deprivation. Then there are people who hoard. They will spend lots of things to buy stuff, and then it's in the attic and they'll never throw anything away. So there are a whole range of behaviors, financial control, the financial infidelity, all of these things taken to the extreme, they are disorders, and they're going to really have negative impact on my life, and if I'm in a relationship, on the life of my family.
Yes, yes. And I mentioned about shopaholic. How about workaholics?
You're looking at me funny when you say that.
I'm just looking at you funny. But that's the way that I naturally look.
Okay, so the good thing is it's about you and not about me. So that's good.
Yes, I'm asking you all the questions that are actually very pertinent for me. So yes, if I'm a workaholic.
So workaholic is, I would put it under money disorder, because again, the money script and the money belief for lots of workaholics is that money is important to survive. You need to have money to succeed. And there's this sense of money worship. Money is a status. And lots of workaholics, and I would say it probably affects men more than women, but were raised in families where their parents, their father often was a workaholic. So there's this belief that to have value, this is what you need to do. You need to work hard. And it's really difficult to break free of that cycle because it's never ending. Because no matter how hard I work, I'm never going to feel like I have enough money, because money is a scarce resource. And if I grew up believing you must have money to feel safe, you get just caught in this cycle that never ends. So there's a real difference between having a strong work ethic and enjoying your job and working hard, and spending so much time in the office that you're missing out on time with your wife or your spouse and the children. That's when it becomes addictive. And I'll just say one of the things that positively I've noticed with the confinement is so many workaholics have spent time at home with the family and have come back to therapy and said, I think I want this more than the job. I think I'm starting to reevaluate. I've never spent this much time with my spouse and children, and I value this more. And it's been really refreshing to be part of that, you know, to see that.
That's wonderful. I think that I must apologize. I think that a message just came up on my screen whilst you were answering that question. I am very sorry. I'm on my phone for this interview, and it shows that sometimes things can go wrong during an
notification from the shopping channel? Because let's talk about this, Alicia.
You guessed it. You guessed it.
By the way, here's a stat, Here's a stat that I only discovered recently about I think it's the US home shopping channels. And the stat is that 93% of the purchases on the home shopping channels are made by the same 3% of the viewers. So that's
93% of the the people who buy on the shopping channel.
No, 93% of what's purchased,
Yes,
has been purchased by the same 3% each time. So those are the people in that 3% that you would probably say, actually, this is compulsive. This is not just that you might switch on the shopping channel and think, oh, that's lovely, there's a set of bread knives and I'll get that. These are people who really have a compulsion to the point that it's affecting their lives.
well, this is the only time that I'm very happy not to be in the top 3%.
I was never there, you see, so I don't know.
Gavin, you have helped me today, and I'm sure that for everyone who is watching and listening, that they have been helped too. I thank you so much. I'm Alicia Sedgwick. I've been talking to Gavin Sharpe of Riviera Wellbeing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alicia. It's been fun as always. So thank you for the opportunity.